Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. When we talk about the energy sector, things are usually pretty straightforward. Oil, gas, renewables. But today we're taking a look at a company that's making waves in a space that's seeing a resurgence in nuclear energy. We're talking about Centrus Energy, ticker symbol LEU.
It's fascinating to see how nuclear energy is shedding its old image and stepping back into the spotlight.
Absolutely. And Centrus Energy is right in the thick of it, playing a crucial role in providing the fuel for these advanced nuclear technologies everyone's talking about. But before we get into all that, let's start with the basics. How's Centrus Energy been performing lately?
Well, their stock is currently priced at $72.42, down 1.23% today. Now, that might sound a bit concerning at first glance.
Right, especially in today's market.
Exactly. But if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, Centrus Energy's stock has actually gained over 116% from its 52-week low of $33.51.
So this recent dip could just be a blip on the radar, right?
Yeah.
A little turbulence amidst a generally upward trend.
It seems that way. Now, their latest earnings report, their Q3 2024 earnings, showed a 30-cent EPS loss.
Okay, so not exactly stellar news on that front.
True, but it's not the whole story. What's intriguing is that they exceeded revenue expectations, pulling in $57.7 million. And here's the kicker, they've secured $2 billion in future commitments.
Wow, $2 billion. That's a massive vote of confidence.
It certainly is. This signals a robust demand for their services, particularly in a sector that's clearly gaining momentum.
So it sounds like Centrus Energy might be weathering the current economic storms pretty well.
That's one way to put it. They're operating in a sector that's experiencing a global upswing. Think about it. The world is hungry for clean energy, and nuclear power, for all its past controversies, is emerging as a key player in this transition.
And Centrus Energy is perfectly positioned to capitalize on this shift.
Precisely. But it's not just about Centrus Energy. The International Energy Agency, the IEA, is predicting a record-breaking year for nuclear power production. We're seeing countries like France and Japan doubling down on nuclear energy, and then you have projects like Turkey's new HALEU nuclear plant boosting regional energy security while reducing emissions.
Okay, so the global stage is set for nuclear power's comeback. But where exactly does Centrus Energy fit into all of this?
They're involved in uranium enrichment, a critical process in the nuclear fuel cycle. But here's where it gets really interesting. They're also deeply involved in the supply chains for these new cutting-edge nuclear technologies that are generating so much buzz.
You're talking about small modular reactors, or SMRs, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
SMRs. They're smaller, more flexible, and potentially safer than traditional reactors. Imagine something akin to a power plant in a box. Compact, efficient, and deployable in a variety of settings.
That does paint a pretty compelling picture. So how is Centrus Energy involved with these SMRs?
They play a critical role in supplying a specific type of uranium, high-assay, low-enriched uranium, or HALEU, which is essential for these advanced reactors.
HALEU. Tell me more about that. What makes it so special?
Well, it's all about efficiency and power. HALEU is more highly enriched than the uranium used in most traditional reactors. This higher enrichment allows SMRs to operate more efficiently for longer periods and with less frequent refueling. It's a game changer for the industry, making SMRs a more attractive option for countries looking to adopt cleaner energy sources.
So Centrus Energy is at the forefront of this technological shift by providing this crucial ingredient, HALEU. It sounds like they're not just riding the wave, they're helping to shape the future of nuclear energy.
That's a great way to put it. They've got the experience in uranium enrichment, and now they're leading the charge in HALEU production, making them a vital part of this nuclear renaissance.
Okay, so we've established that Centrus Energy is strategically positioned in a growing sector. They've secured some impressive contracts, and they're deeply involved in the cutting edge of nuclear technology. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, their stock.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The stock market, always an exciting, sometimes unpredictable beast.
Exactly. We've seen some fluctuations lately, and you mentioned that Centrus Energy stock is down a bit today. But analysts seem to be pretty optimistic about their long-term prospects.
They are indeed. O'Reilly, for instance, has set a price target of $126.
Hold on, $126?
That's a potential upside of over 24%.
That's a pretty significant jump. What's driving this bullish outlook? What are analysts seeing that's making them so confident about Centrus Energy's future?
It's a combination of factors. For one, Centrus Energy recently secured new uranium production contracts with the Department of Energy.
Okay, so they're solidifying their position in the U.S. market.
Absolutely. And then there's a broader context of the nuclear energy sector itself. We're seeing a global shift toward clean energy, And nuclear power is playing a larger role in that transition. Countries are committing to ambitious carbon reduction goals, and nuclear energy is a key part of the solution.
So Centrus Energy is riding this wave of global demand for clean energy, and their involvement in HALEU production for these advanced SMRs puts them in a prime position to capitalize on this growth.
Precisely. They're not just a uranium company, they're a clean energy company with a unique offering in a market that's only going to get bigger.
This is all incredibly fascinating. But before we get too carried away with the excitement, we need to address the potential risks and challenges that Centrus Energy might face.
You're absolutely right. Every investment comes with its own set of risks, and it's important to understand those before making any decisions.
So what are some of the potential hurdles that Centrus Energy might encounter along the way?
Well, one thing to consider is the regulatory landscape. The nuclear industry is heavily regulated, and any changes in those regulations could impact Centrus Energy's operations.
So keeping an eye on the regulatory environment is crucial for anyone considering investing in Centrus Energy.
Absolutely. Another factor to think about is competition. While Centrus Energy is a leader in uranium enrichment, they're not the only player in the game.
Right. Competition is always a factor in any industry. But it sounds like Centrus Energy has a significant advantage with their expertise in HALEU production.
That's a key differentiator for sure. But it's also important to remember that the nuclear industry is still grappling with public perception issues. Accidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima, while in the past, continue to cast a shadow over the sector.
That's true. Public perception can have a powerful impact on any industry, especially one as sensitive as nuclear energy.
Exactly. But here's the thing, technology and safety standards have advanced dramatically since those events. Modern nuclear plants are designed with multiple layers of safety systems, and the industry has a strong track record of continuous improvement.
So it sounds like the nuclear industry has learned from its past and is making significant strides in terms of safety.
Definitely. And as more people understand the safety and environmental benefits of nuclear power, particularly its role in reducing carbon emissions, public perception is gradually shifting.
Okay, so it seems like we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about Centrus Energy's recent performance, their deep involvement in the growing nuclear energy sector, the potential risks and challenges they face, and even their stock performance. It's a lot to digest.
It is, but I think it's safe to say that Centrus Energy is a company worth keeping an eye on. They're operating in a dynamic and evolving industry, and they seem to be well positioned for future growth.
I completely agree. Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to HALEU for a moment.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on its importance for these advanced reactors?
Of course, HALEU, or high-assay low-enriched uranium, is a type of nuclear fuel that's, as I mentioned, more highly enriched than the uranium used in most traditional reactors. This higher enrichment level gives SMRs and other advanced reactors more power and endurance.
So they can operate for longer periods without refueling, which makes them more cost-effective and reduces the amount of nuclear waste generated.
Precisely. And Centrus Energy is one of the few companies in the world with the capability to produce HALEU at scale, which puts them in a very strategic position.
So as demand for SMRs grows, Centrus Energy is ready to supply the fuel they need. It's a smart play in a rapidly evolving market.
It certainly is. They're not just following the trends, they're anticipating them and positioning themselves to be leaders in this new era of nuclear energy.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. We've covered a lot of ground, from Centrus Energy's impressive performance and future prospects to the exciting advancements in nuclear energy technology and the current market trends. It's clear that Centrus Energy is a company worth watching. But before we wrap up this part of our discussion, let's take a closer look at those technical indicators you mentioned earlier.
Of course. As of January 10th, 2025, Centrus Energy's stock price is $72.42. It's down slightly today, but that's in line with the broader market trends we've discussed. The 50-day simple moving average, or SMA, is $79.67, while the 200-day SMA is $55.01.
Okay, so the stock is currently trading below both of those moving averages. What does that tell us?
It suggests a potential downward trend in the short to medium term. However, it's important to note that the stock has seen significant gains over the past year, rising from a 52-week low of $33.51. So the long-term trend is still quite bullish.
So a mixed bag in terms of technical indicators.
Exactly. The Relative Strength Index, or RSI, is currently 41.30, which is in neutral territory. The Moving Average Convergence Divergence, or MACD, is negative, indicating some bearish momentum.
Okay, so some indicators are flashing caution, while others suggest the possibility of continued upward momentum. What about support and resistance levels?
The support level is $69.63, while the resistance level is $77.67.
So if the stock holds above that support level, it could be a sign that the bulls are still in control. But if it breaks below that level, we could see further declines.
Precisely. It's all about watching those key levels and monitoring the overall market sentiment.
This is a lot of information to process. It sounds like the technical picture for Centrus Energy is a bit nuanced, with some indicators flashing caution, while others suggest the possibility of continued upward momentum. But one thing's for sure, this is a company worth watching.
I couldn't agree more. They're at the forefront of a fascinating and rapidly evolving industry, and their future prospects are certainly intriguing.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our discussion on Centrus Energy. We've delved into their recent performance, their role in the burgeoning nuclear energy sector, the potential risks and challenges they face, and even their stock performance. But we're not done yet. In the next part of our discussion, we'll explore some of the broader trends shaping the future of nuclear energy and delve deeper into the potential impact of technologies like SMRs and HALEU. Stay tuned.
You know, when we talk about Centrus and their connection to these SMRs, it's hard not to get excited about the potential impact on the energy landscape.
I know, right? It's like we're on the verge of a whole new era of nuclear power, one that's cleaner, more efficient, and potentially even safer. But for those who aren't as familiar with these SMRs, can you break down what makes them so different from traditional nuclear reactors?
Absolutely. Imagine instead of these massive centralized power plants, we have smaller modular units that can be deployed in a more distributed way. That's the essence of SMRs. They're designed to be more flexible, adaptable to different energy needs, and even easier to integrate into existing grids.
So it's like shifting from a one-size-fits-all approach to a more tailored energy solution.
Exactly. Think of it like building blocks. You can combine multiple SMR modules to scale up power generation as needed. This makes them particularly attractive for remote areas, developing countries, or even for specific industrial applications.
That's fascinating. And these SMRs are also said to be safer than traditional reactors.
Yes, safety is a major selling point for SMRs. Many of them are designed with passive safety features, meaning that they rely on natural forces like gravity and convection to cool the reactor core in case of an emergency.
So instead of relying on pumps and external power sources which can fail during an accident, these SMRs have built-in safeguards that kick in automatically.
Precisely. This significantly reduces the risk of a meltdown and makes them inherently safer.
Okay, so SMRs sound incredibly promising. But you mentioned earlier that Centrus is involved in supplying a special type of uranium for these reactors, HALEU. What exactly is HALEU, and why is it so important for SMRs?
Well, HALEU stands for high-assay, low-enriched uranium. It's a type of nuclear fuel that's enriched to a higher level than the uranium used in most conventional reactors.
Okay, so what's the advantage of using this HALEU in SMRs?
It boils down to efficiency and waste reduction. SMRs designed to run on HALEU can operate for much longer periods, sometimes up to 20 years, before needing to be refueled.
Wow, 20 years. That's a huge difference compared to traditional reactors.
It is. And this extended operating cycle has some major advantages. It reduces the frequency of refueling operations, which lowers costs and minimizes the amount of nuclear waste generated.
So using HALEU in SMRs is like getting more bang for your buck. More power, less waste, and fewer refueling shutdowns.
You got it. And this is where Centrus comes into play. They are one of the few companies in the world with the capability to produce HALEU, positioning them as a key player in this emerging market.
So as the demand for SMRs grows, Centrus is poised to become a major supplier of this crucial fuel source. It's like they've got a front row seat to this nuclear energy revolution.
Exactly. And it's not just about SMRS HALEU is also becoming increasingly important for other advanced reactor designs, some of which are even looking at using it to recycle nuclear waste.
Whoa, recycling nuclear waste. That sounds almost too good to be true.
It's a cutting-edge area of research, but the potential is immense. If we can figure out how to safely and efficiently recycle nuclear waste, it could revolutionize the way we think about nuclear energy.
That's incredible. So Centrus's involvement in HALEU production puts them at the forefront of not just SMR development, but potentially the future of nuclear waste management as well.
They're certainly well positioned, and as we shift towards cleaner energy sources, the ability to manage nuclear waste effectively is going to become increasingly important.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits of SMRs and the critical role HALEU plays in making them a viable option. But let's step back for a moment and consider the bigger picture. You mentioned that the global energy landscape is shifting towards cleaner sources. How does nuclear energy fit into this transition?
That's a great question. For years, nuclear energy has been somewhat of a controversial topic, often overshadowed by concerns about safety waste disposal and the potential for proliferation. However, as the urgency of climate change becomes more apparent, nuclear energy is being reevaluated as a potential solution.
So are you saying that nuclear power is making a comeback?
There are definitely signs of a resurgence. Many experts believe that nuclear power, with its ability to generate large amounts of carbon-free electricity, has a crucial role to play in decarbonizing our energy systems.
But what about those concerns about safety and waste disposal?
Yeah.
Haven't those issues plagued the nuclear industry for decades?
They have, but it's important to recognize that the technology and safety standards have evolved significantly. Modern nuclear plants are designed with multiple layers of safety systems, and the industry has learned a lot from past incidents.
So are you saying that nuclear power is actually much safer than people might think?
Yeah. The data suggests that modern nuclear power plants have a very good safety record. And with advancements like SMRs, which are inherently safer due to their design, the risks are being further mitigated.
Okay, so if safety concerns are being addressed, what about the issue of nuclear waste?
That's a valid concern, and it's an area where ongoing research and development are crucial. However, as we discussed earlier, emerging technologies like those being explored with HALEU offer potential solutions for waste management, including recycling.
So the nuclear industry is actively working to address these challenges and make nuclear power a more sustainable and acceptable energy source.
Absolutely. And it's not just the industry. Governments around the world are recognizing the potential of nuclear energy in the fight against climate change.
So we're seeing a convergence of technological advancements, policy shifts, and a growing awareness of the need for clean energy sources. It's an exciting time to be following the nuclear energy sector, wouldn't you say?
It's a dynamic and evolving landscape full of challenges and opportunities. And companies like Centrus, with their unique offerings and strategic positioning, are poised to play a key role in shaping the future of this industry.
It sounds like we're at a crossroads with nuclear power potentially stepping back into the spotlight as a major player in the global energy mix. But before we delve deeper into the geopolitical implications of this shift, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore how countries around the world are approaching nuclear energy and discuss what this means for investors like you. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We've been unpacking Centrus Energy, this fascinating company at the heart of the nuclear energy resurgence.
And it's a resurgence that's happening on a global scale. Different countries are approaching nuclear energy in different ways, each with its own unique set of considerations and challenges.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So let's zoom out a bit and look at the global landscape. What are some of the key trends we're seeing in different parts of the world?
Well, in Europe, France has long been a champion of nuclear power, generating a significant portion of their electricity from nuclear plants. They're committed to maintaining their nuclear fleet and even exploring new reactor designs.
So France is a good example of a country that's embracing nuclear energy as a key part of its energy mix.
Absolutely. And then you have countries like Germany, which are phasing out nuclear power altogether. They're focusing on renewable energy sources like solar and wind.
So we see a contrast in approaches even within Europe.
Precisely. And in Asia, China is aggressively expanding its nuclear power capacity. They're investing heavily in new reactor construction, both domestically and internationally.
That's interesting. What's driving China's push for nuclear energy?
A combination of factors, including their growing energy, demands concerns about air pollution from coal-fired power plants and their ambition to become a global leader in nuclear technology.
Okay, so we see a variety of approaches to nuclear energy in different parts of the world, each shaped by unique circumstances and priorities.
Exactly. And this global landscape creates both opportunities and challenges for companies like Centrus. They need to be adaptable and responsive to the specific needs of different markets.
Right. They're not just operating in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They're part of this intricate global network.
Precisely. And as the demand for clean energy continues to grow, the nuclear energy sector is likely to become even more competitive with countries and companies vying for a share of the market.
So for investors, it's essential to understand not just the company, but also the broader context in which it operates.
Absolutely. It's about connecting the dots, understanding the company's fundamentals, its technology, its market position, and the global trends shaping the industry.
It sounds like nuclear energy is a complex and ever-evolving space, but with that complexity comes potential opportunity.
I couldn't agree more. And for investors who are willing to do their homework and understand the nuances of this sector, there could be significant rewards.
Well, this has been a truly insightful discussion. We've delved into Centrus Energy's role in the nuclear energy resurgence, explored the potential of SMRs and HALEU, and even taken a look at the global landscape of nuclear power. I don't know about you, but I feel like I've learned a lot today.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey of discovery with you and our listeners.
And as always, we want to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on Centrus Energy and its role in this evolving energy landscape?
Do you think nuclear energy is poised for a comeback? Or are the risks and challenges too great?
Head over to our social media channels and share your thoughts. We love hearing from you.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to Investing Talk podcast so you don't miss any of our future deep dives into the world of investing.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.